Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so today I have Dominic Forth on the line, and he's CEO over at Thought Leaders America. Dominic, welcome to the show.
Adam, thanks for having me.
All right, Dominic. So we got a lot to talk about, man. I've been watching your work, and when it comes to landing national TV interviews, getting on top podcasts and major media features for individuals out there that, have a story to tell, you're the guy over at Thought Leaders America. So we're going to get into that, into how you got into the business, into how people can also elevate their brands as well. But before we do that, let's start this episode the way that we start them all, with what we like to call our Mission Matters Minute. So Dominic, at Mission Matters, our aim and our goal is to amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's what we do. Dominic, what mission matters to you?
The biggest mission for me is helping entrepreneurs and leaders really tell that story that's inside of them that can help transform other people's
Mm.
lives. Really live a life of gratitude and just being grateful for everything that we have. And then taking that a step further and just helping to do good within the community. And I say community, but much further beyond that, across the country. So we get to work with some incredible social impact causes, and our mission is helping that piece of each of us that has that purpose to be able to do that.
That's great. Love bringing mission-based individuals on here to share why they do what they do, how they're doing it, and really what we can all learn from that. So great having you on. And for the people that have been watching this show for a long time, my background. I come from finance. When I got into this business, I didn't know anything about media promo. I didn't even know why somebody should share their story. In fact, when somebody would tell me to share my story, to do something like that, I used to laugh at them and say, like, why would I ever want to do that? Like, who cares about my story? I'm not a celebrity or an athlete, or I'm not like that person. But through the years, I've learned otherwise, that I know that I'm still not an athlete, Dominic, so don't worry, you're not dunking a basketball anytime soon. And that hasn't changed. But what I do understand now, that I've been in this business for 9 years in media, that stories have the power to change communities, to change lives, to change really the world. And that connectedness of being human, it's so much more than just a pretty picture or branding or other things like that. So that's been my personal journey to get me to where I'm at this point. Dominic, for yourself, like, what brings you to this point of wanting to help people at Thought Leaders America? Like, where did this all start for you?
Yeah, you bring up a great point, because quite often, I meet entrepreneurs and founders who they're burnt out, or they're fatigued, or
Mhm.
just tired. And what I've
Yeah.
found is, when the work that you do aligns with that course, mission, and purpose, work stops becoming work. It
Mhm.
becomes something that is energizing and empowers you. And so it's something that I didn't realize I had inside of me. I used to just sort of automatically help people. I'm the
Mhm.
sort of guy that would like see something happening in the street and immediately act.
Yeah.
Um, and so I've always had that in me to help other people. I just didn't realize what that bigger calling was. And so the evolution of my career, you
Mhm.
know, working in media over 2 decades with TV stations all across the country, finally launched Thought Leaders America, because I realized, oh my goodness, this is a great way to help people, help
Mhm.
other people. So as a force multiplier, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So get into that. I mean, 20-year career in television and media, like what take us go a little bit further into that. What does that look like, and what qualifies you to help people in this mission, and also in getting on TV, really, and getting major media?
Yeah, I was always curious, which kind of led me down the path. I mean, I was very fortunate. I could have been a scientist, a mathematician. I was, A's across the table. And
Dang. You hold on, Dominic. You might be too smart for this business. What's going on? I'm just
well, and,
there go the comments. I'm just playing. Lots of smart people in media. I may not be one of them. Go ahead.
well, and I started to go down the science route, and then I just realized I was very curious about other people and their stories, and I love
Mhm.
to travel as well.
Yeah.
And so that natural curiosity meant I would be finding out things about people and connecting people and helping people as well. And
Mhm.
so for many years, I was helping businesses leverage media, the audiences, and generating, not to toot my own horn, but like tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars over my career. And so you learn a lot through that. You learn about psychology, not only the individual, but mass psychology of large audiences. Advertising on a local news spot's a lot different than advertising in the World Series or the Super Bowl. And I've done both. And so after a while, I went through the ranks of management and then got recruited to start consulting for TV stations and doing really high level research. So focus groups, quantitative studies, spokesperson evaluations. I mean, you name it, right across the board. So now there's a macro view of everywhere from New York to LA, coast to coast, everywhere in between, seeing all the data. How does someone in Oklahoma respond to a commercial or an ad or a message versus somebody in Spokane, Washington, or New York or Florida? And so you realize there's so many nuances about human behavior, but there are also some core themes as well. And I didn't realize at the time I was building some tremendous relationships and just great friendships, really. And during COVID, like many people, I was ready for kind of a transition. And I had a friend of mine was writing a book and he was trying to get some TV coverage. And I said to him, "Oh, it's easy. Just, I'll call these 3 people for you and I'll get you booked."
Yeah.
And he stops and he says, "You can do this." I was like, "Oh yeah, I used to work with that person. They were in the newsroom, they were in the production suite." And he's like, "Oh my goodness, like you should build a business around this. Do you know how many people you could help?"
Wow.
And so that was the launching point. And with the rise of podcasting, that then became the next step. Because the 2 separate things, really. TV's often headlines, straight to the point, 3 to 5 minutes, but podcasts, they're phenomenal because they're far more personal, a lot more storytelling. And so it's been an evolution from there. And then naturally people go on then to get speaking engagements as well.
Yeah.
So all communication, but the one thing that really at the core of it is the true goal. And this is, I'm being as genuine as possible, of helping other people. I mean, that permeates with everything that I do and what the company does.
Dominic, one of the things, like you talk about that 3 to 5 minute spot, I know it's something that makes also your company pretty unique is that you do media training and things like that. So like to even prepare people for that 3 to 5 minutes, let's just say time to shine on TV. What makes a good 3 to 5 minute spot? Like just give us, I know first to give all you have, people need, at the end of this, I'm going to give you the opportunity to leave website, things like that, so that people can follow up and get the training. But in your opinion, what makes a good 3 to 5 minute spot?
Yeah. So I'll give you 3 things to begin with, and then I can give you a quick framework. And then I can also give you what not to do, because I was on TV just yesterday and I was like, oh my goodness, I broke 5 of my own rules.
Oh no.
Yeah. So the 3 things at the core is you have to be audience centric. So that's number 1. So you've got to be focused. What's in it for the audience? Because naturally they're very selfish. I mean, we all are as viewers sometimes.
Yeah.
So what's in it for them? The second, which you get.
What's an example of that, by the way? Like what? Just anything. Like what would be an example of making sure that you're being audience centric in an interview?
Yeah. So this actually will lead into the framework. So
Wonderful.
To start this segment, let's say we're talking about Alzheimer's, and I have a personal story about Alzheimer's. Well, if I just come on talking about that story, I might feel great, but it's not really as relevant to viewers. But if you lead with 1 in 3 people are affected by Alzheimer's in one way or another, and the economic cost is in the billions of dollars, now you're getting people's attention because they're like, wait, 1 in 3 people, really? And they think of them. Is there a caregiver, or is there an actual person they know that's suffering?
Or does somebody in their family have it? Or like now you kind of hit them in the heart. That's amazing. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah. And so then you get into the personal story of this has affected me personally, and here's the burden, because often on the caregiver, it's actually harder on the caregiver than, there's a statistic out there actually that caregivers pass away often, not just with Alzheimer's, but with any type of illness, because it's so demanding. So now you've gone from audience centric to emotionally engaging. So that was number 2. But it doesn't stop there, because the third point is you've got to be authentic. And that's the hardest piece,
How's
because
that the hardest piece? Tell me.
well, because you
They're
see a lot.
nervous or like, I don't know.
Well, in this realm, it's in this example rather, it's quite easy because it's a personal story. You can tell obviously that there's photos on the on the interview, for example, or
Oh,
B-roll that shows it's
yeah.
authentic. But
Mhm.
what happens is you have often commercials, let's say TV commercials, where
Mhm.
it's audience centric. It might be, hey, come on in today and it's 50% off. And if you
Yeah,
don't come in, I'm going to get on this roof and I'm going to jump off the roof. So come
I
on down
got
and
you.
see me jump off the roof. I mean, that's an extreme example, you
But it
know.
works, and we're still talking about it. No, go ahead.
Well, we are,
I'm
but then
just playing. I'm just playing.
we're talking about it, but at the end of it, is it or are you
Yeah.
say, or I don't want to pick on attorneys by any means, but there are some ads for attorneys where it's, if you're in a wreck, you need a check, and I'm going to write you a
Yeah.
check. And again, it's audience centric. Like, oh my goodness, if you're in an accident, it's very, audience centric. It's emotionally
Yeah.
engaging because you got, something
But
very
is it
emotional.
authentic? I get you. I get you.
Yeah, yeah. But that's the hardest piece, and that's why you need a coach because
Hmm.
bringing out that authenticity, people are very guarded.
Yeah.
You People don't want to because well, no one's interested in that, or that will make me look weak, or does that make me look
Yep.
vulnerable, or I don't want to boast or brag, and it's like, wait, you've achieved this, this, and this in your career, and you don't want to brag.
Mm.
That's incredible. You have to tell everybody that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
So
right, let's and by the way, thank you for that. That's you gave us a quick little 2-minute master class on what to do and what to be working on when we're talking about a 3 to 5 minute spot where, when somebody prepares for that, like this is a great framework. And I know you have more to offer there, but I want to I don't know if I should use the word juxtapose, but let's compare that maybe to, or just even get into what a good podcast interview would look like. Cause now you have much more time to work. Like there are many more components there and you can really build. Cause an average podcast, in my experience, at least, 30 minutes to an hour. So you got some time there. What are some of the ingredients that make that successful?
I was just workshopping this as well, and there are
Mm,
different approaches to take. And what I love about podcasts is I feel like there is so much more authenticity to
yeah,
podcasts because you can sometimes fake a short amount of time, like a 30-second commercial. Actors can fake that, but
for
30
sure.
minutes, it's a lot harder to fake. And so,
Yeah.
what I'm finding it's really effective for audiences is starting with that hook, at the beginning, what's in it for them, and
Mm-hmm.
then transitioning into why is this person qualified to kind of how we are at the moment. We're segueing into
Yeah.
that piece. And then you can transition. And this is what I love about podcasts. Like sometimes it just flows and
Mm-hmm.
there's one topic matter and it's a great
Yeah.
conversation and the audience starts hanging on to that. Other times, you can sequence through and say, well, this person's qualified, but tell me about the results they've been able to generate, or tell
Mm,
me the stories or the story behind the stories.
mm.
And so that's really crucial. And often I think we sometimes we don't do a good job almost of people sometimes self-promote, but they also don't talk about the
Yeah.
opposite consequence. What happens if you don't do this?
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I have to explain that to clients is, well, it's not all about self-promotion. You've also got to share the risks about
Yeah.
doing. And from there, I think the final sort of, if I was to do a five, piece
Yeah.
framework for this. And then the final one is just where people can go for more information. How can they follow the guest and things like that?
Hmm.
Okay.
And for me, I feel like the trust factor it's just so much more important nowadays, maybe than it once was, because it's so hard to find. Like it takes time to build trust with an audience, especially as a guest. Like over time, people hear your story over and over again. The more you're in media, but it like you can lose it pretty quickly. What does it look like and what does that mean to you right now? Just with, AI, so many different things are going on, people in their avatars and all these other ways to do it. Like, what is this trust factor? How does this play into your world?
I'm so glad you brought up trust because attention is almost cheap
Yeah,
these days,
it
but
is cheap.
trust,
Boost a post, like whatever. You can get a lot of views. You can get a lot of people watching your stuff. It's cheaper than it's ever been.
yeah, people are chasing views, they're chasing clicks, but trust is
Mm,
priceless.
yeah.
And to your point, it's extremely valuable. And with AI, as you mentioned, it's so difficult because you have deep fakes. You've got a
Hmm.
lot of content just being misrepresented or being really just blasted out as well.
Hmm.
And so that's why I feel that TV, is a really nice way to build trust because you've got gatekeepers built in. Same with podcasts, looking for credible hosts like yourself who we know you've done your research, you've vetted the person, you know that the claims they're going to make are legitimate. And so trust is such an important currency. And audiences are reacting to that as well. Audience want relationships where, the host or the interviewee can be, they're speaking from the heart. There's a genuine connection there. And the goal is really by building that trust, you can build a whole group that's not only just fans or customers or clients, but really ambassadors for you and your brand. I mean, that's how powerful TV and podcasts are.
For sure.
Yeah.
And let's, I guess in tandem, let's talk about thought leadership, because trust and thought leadership, I would say they're kind of going in tandem nowadays. Like without, and this is my opinion, without a certain amount of thought leadership, whether it's having a book out there, whether it's having a TV spot, whether it's having some podcast interviews out there, it's almost hard to call yourself up to date when it comes to doing business in this day of AI and otherwise, like not being on social media, not being able to be found on Google, or when somebody puts your name into Chat GPT, if you're a ghost, kind of shows that you're out of tune. That is a type of personal brand. It's called out of tune with the present world. And sometimes people don't want to do business with that. Depends. Now, I know there's cases on that when people that would argue the opposite, which could be true. But overall, if you're a business owner, if you're the head of a company, like you got to get with it and do. And it doesn't have to be being on a show like this or doing a lot of I think influencer work, if you will. But like thought leadership and being an influencer are two different things. There might be some overlap, but very different.
Yeah, it's almost expected now that people have an online digital presence. I saw research recently where people are spending anywhere from 8 to 10 hours with a brand or with a personal brand before they're even making a purchasing decision. It's really increased dramatically, and it's hard. I totally get it for a lot of leaders because you're running the business, but it's one of the most critical components to growing the business because the way the audiences are reacting is they expect to see some form of digital presence. They want to get to know you before they even reach out and fill out a contact us form or request a call. And so the other piece as well is what's happening with AI is a huge shift. So you have AI today, this blew my mind. It is identifying problems that humans don't even know exist yet. And AI is solving those problems before a human even touches it. And so what's going to happen is almost an existential challenge or crisis for a lot of people, because suddenly their day-to-day work is going to become almost completed for them. They're going to be comfortable. It's going to be to a point where they, financially they're fine, they're okay. But now they're going to be very unfulfilled. Because the day-to-day, so what's the purpose? What's the meaning of life almost for this person? And so that's also why thought leadership is so important and why I would start investing in it now. Because you'll, number one, get a head start on a lot of positions which we're already starting to see get cut. But two, you're getting a head start on pursuing that passion or that one thing that you really, have always wanted to pursue that you haven't been able to because of all the work in front of you. So it's going to be a huge shift we're seeing.
And one thing that you said, Dominic, you said, you understand because people are busy and this and that. I think you're letting people off the hook a little bit on that one. And I got to bring that back up because now I don't understand. And not based on what you said, but really think about it. The top CEOs in the world, they're responsible to shareholder for publicly traded companies. They got to do an investor call. They got to do like their once a year, whatever it is, and be in front of camera. So the ask isn't what it used to be. So if you want to do a TV spot once a year, if you want to do whatever you have to do, not having something up there, if you can't take a half a day or whatever it takes to do one TV spot a year or one every couple, twice a year, something like that, that builds up over time. So if you can't spend that much time on your brand, it's not an excuse. Your competitors will. And that's why we see other like companies. Sometimes you wonder, you're like, wait, how this one, they came out of nowhere. Now they're everywhere. A lot of times the CEOs visible, they might be extra visible, by the way, but I'm just saying that let's say the individuals that already had an advantage with no digital presence, like it's going to be harder and harder as time goes on, as competition gets as the population ages and the younger population are all digital. Not all, obviously I'm exaggerating there, but they're used to a different type of connection with brands and how they make their purchasing power. So you can't just like catch up. You got to start this stuff now. And even if you only have time to do one great TV spot a year or a couple of podcast interviews per year, another 5 years, 10 years is going to pass at the snap of a finger. You need to get those things done now and put it into your marketing and all your plans like now. Like, don't wait.
Yeah. Well, and you know what holds a lot of CEOs back? And I was astounded when I
Mm,
realized this. It's as simple as the Zoom background and the home office setup.
really? Wow.
Yeah, it really surprised me because there's been times where I've landed major TV appearances and
Mm,
podcast appearances for CEOs, and they're just not ready because they don't have a curated background. And so
yeah.
the best clients we've worked with, they're ready to start like, hey, what do you think of the color of this wall? I'll go this weekend, I'll paint it a different color. How does this plant look? How does this look? Those small things make such a big difference.
Mm,
But that's again comes down to having a really good coach in your corner who
yeah.
can say, hey, move the camera this way, let's adjust lighting that way. Because otherwise you're holding yourself back over something so simple that can be corrected quite
Mm.
easily.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, get that done. If you're watching this and that's what's holding you back, yeah, get a coach, get it done. Like if that's the least of the that's a very low barrier of entry to make sure that you're building that digital footprint. Yeah.
No. The other piece as well, Adam, is knowing what to talk about. And I know that
Mm.
sounds like an unusual thing to say for some of the
No,
most
that
talented.
sounds logical. I thought that would
Okay.
have been the reason. Maybe fear, maybe something else. I can dig that. Like that I understand. Backgrounds, I don't understand. Get that together. But go ahead, continue.
No, and that's why again having a coach is so important because
Yeah.
you want someone to bounce ideas off, or better still, advocating on your behalf,
Mm.
coming up with ideas, tracking the news daily, looking for connections between what's
Yeah.
happening now and the company. I mean, the news cycle, you've seen how quickly it changes. I mean, there's
Oh yeah.
opportunities every day to be in front, and plus with the number of TV stations across the country, I mean,
Mhm.
there's opportunities every day.
It's wonderful. Well, Dominic, I'll tell you, man, this has been great having you on the show today and learning more about what you're doing. What's next? I mean, what's next for you? What's next for Thought Leaders America?
Yeah, it's funny because at the start of this year, I realized I need to start practicing more of what I preach. And so, as I'm talking
Yeah.
about examples of other people on TV, I'm actually going on a media tour myself. I'm
Mm.
really excited about it. And then Thought Leaders America, we're expanding. We're expanding just as rapidly as the number of podcasts all over the country are expanding.
Mm.
Our goal is to launch 2 new concept podcasts. So they'll be coming out towards the back end of this year. And
Yeah.
and then transitioning into more events next year. We have a lot of clients that go to events and we support them
Mhm.
there. And that's a big focus of ours, is giving them even more support as we go into
Yeah.
2026. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well,
Yep.
Dominic, again, thank you for coming on the show today. How do people follow up? How do they connect? How do they land their national TV spot with you?
Yeah. Well, you can connect with me anytime on LinkedIn, Dominic Forth, and our website for Thought Leaders America. Super simple. It's just thoughtleadersamerica.com. And that's all one word, thoughtleadersamerica.com.
Fantastic. And for everybody watching, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so you can just click on the links and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So, again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Dominic, thanks again for coming on.
Yeah. Great to see you, Adam.